What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler, and you can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Tuesday, April 1st. We'll start things off with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league. We were lucky enough to avoid any IL stints or any IL placements on Tuesday, so we'll move straight into our transactions, starting with starting pitcher Emerson Hancock, who was optioned to AAA by the Mariners. He was not great in his season debut, so he'll head straight to the minors. And in a corresponding move, Jonathan Diaz was recalled from the minors. He will replace Hancock in the rotation. Likely, it's unclear right now exactly what role Diaz will fulfill. In the past, he's been a long reliever, a guy who can pitch multiple innings out of the bullpen. But for now, it looks like he is likely to replace Emerson Hancock in the rotation in Seattle. Next, we have closing pitcher David Bednar, who is also optioned to AAA. Very surprisingly here, he had a rough start to this season, but that's not everything. That's not the complete story. This guy was an all-star. David Bednar was an all-star in 2022 and 2023, but really fell apart in 2024. And if you listen to me on the In the Pen podcast with Rick Graham every single Friday, then you'd know that we talked about Bednar a lot last year, and I wrote an article about him where I discussed his inability to locate his fastball up and the curveball down. And therefore he really struggled, and that has continued to be the case so far, as he's allowed a run in each. He's allowed 3 runs so far in 3 innings in the major leagues. So it looks like Bednar's going to have to figure things out in the minor leagues. Right now, I'd go for Dennis Santana or Colin Holderman to replace him on your fantasy teams. I think those are the 2 likeliest candidates. Colin Holderman's the guy who is the next up in terms of the holds order. He's been getting the most holds for the team the past couple of seasons, but Santana fulfilled the closing pitching role last year for the Pirates when Bednar was struggling. So I think I would target Santana. I think he's got a higher ceiling than Holderman, who's more of a pitch to contact ground ball pitcher type guy. In a corresponding move, the Pirates recalled Thomas Harrington from the minors, promoting him to make his MLB debut. He is the number 3 Pirates prospect according to MLB Pipeline and the number 78 prospect in baseball. Harrington was the 36th overall pick in 2022, but he really struggled in his debut yesterday, tossing 4 innings, allowing 7 hits and 6 earned runs, walking 4 while striking out 2. He induced 9 whiffs with 22% CSW across 90 pitches, and it really feels like he's the least exciting of the trio of, or I guess quadruplet, is that what you'd call it, of pitching prospects coming out of Pittsburgh with Jared Jones, Paul Skeens, Bubba Chandler, and now Thomas Harrington. He's the lowest ranked of those prospects. I think he's got the highest floor. He's the guy who's likeliest to be like a Toby who pitches for a long time. He's got a really deep arsenal, but none of his pitches really stand out. He's got really good control as well, really low walk numbers in the minor league. So Harrington, somebody who can, I think, pitch deep into ball games, but he's going to be a pitch to contact type guy. Didn't have high strikeout rates in the minors, more of like a 25% type guy. He also didn't pitch a lot in the minors. So high floor here for Harrington, low ceiling. Obviously, maybe we can write off the MLB debut in Tampa. It wasn't in Tampa, but in the Rays home ballpark. But Harrington, I don't think is somebody you need to rush out and grab. I think we're going to want to wait to see how he acclimates to the major leagues, especially because he's just recently drafted. So still got some room to grow there for Harrington. Now we'll check out some news, beginning with starting pitcher Lance Lynn, who has announced his retirement. Unfortunately, could not sign a contract or find somewhere. Maybe he didn't want to sign, but Lance Lynn, will call it a career. Definitely remember his time in St. Louis and Texas. Lance Lynn definitely had quite a storied career. Real ball knowers will remember Lance Lynn for a long time. Next, we have starting pitcher Sean Manaea. We have an update on his oblique injury, of which he's still having trouble. He received a PRP injection, so hopefully that'll help, but he's now slated for a late May, early June return, which is not great news for Sean Manaea. Next, we have starting pitcher Lucas Giolito, who is set for a rehab assignment today. Brian Bayo also began his rehab assignment yesterday, so the Red Sox are due to get some rotation reinforcements by the end of the month. We're likely looking at 2 more starts for each of these guys in the minors before they make their season debuts. Next, we have starting pitcher Max Scherzer, who received a cortisone injection in his inflamed thumb that should reduce the swelling and the pain. But how the thumb responds to that cortisone injection will determine the timeline for Scherzer's return. And lastly, we have starting pitcher Reynaldo Lopez, who will undergo arthroscopic shoulder surgery. And if you're like me and was really concerned when you heard that, it's not as concerning arthroscopic as when I think I'm not a doctor. I don't want to speak on this in, facts, but I'm pretty sure that's just when they go in there and they look around with a little camera or whatever imaging software so that they can sort of figure out what's going on there. They're trying to determine if Reynaldo has any structural damage in that shoulder. So we will have a very clear timeline after that surgery, and it's likely looking at somewhere between 1 to 2 months, up maybe even upwards of 2 months, depending if the structural damage is found. So right now, Reynaldo Lopez will undergo arthroscopic shoulder surgery, and we'll have a better idea of his timeline pretty soon. Now we'll take a look at the notable performances from Tuesday, a day in which we had 13 games on the slate. We'll start it off with our hitters, leading off with outfielder Jordan Walker, who helped the Cardinals to win against the Angels, going 2 for 5 with a run, a home run, 2 runs batted in, and a steal to complete the combo meal. He's up. That was his first home run of the year and his first steal. He's off to a hot start. Jordan Walker is batting .429 with an 1172 OPS. His home run traveled 419 feet at 107 miles per hour. And I really think Jordan Walker has the ability to have this post-hype breakout we've been waiting for. The hype was definitely down this year in draft season, was pretty much free, especially in shallow leagues. But I wasn't out on him just yet. I still feel like there's something there. I feel like he hasn't really gotten that full shot. He was pretty solid in his debut season, but last year up and down between the minors. But like the thing with Jordan Walker is he's not just your run-of-the-mill top 100 prospect guy. This was a top 10 prospect across the board. So I really think that if Walker does break out, it's going to be worth your while to get in early because it could be legit fantasy production from Jordan Walker. Right now he's batting 7th, and I think he could rise up in that lineup. They got like Brendan Donovan batting 3rd. And I'm not the biggest Brendan Donovan fan, so maybe I'm not the best to talk him up, but him batting 3rd doesn't seem insurmountable for Jordan Walker in St. Louis. Next, we'll discuss third baseman Eugenio Suarez, who helped the Diamondbacks to win in the Bronx, going 1 for 4 with a run, a home run, and 4 runs batted in. Of course, Suarez hit another home run. He's now leading baseball with 5 home runs on the year. He's got a 1492 OPS to go with that. His home run yesterday traveled 376 feet at 109 miles per hour. And honestly, I know Suarez hit 49 homers one year and 30 home runs a lot of years, but I don't think we should be expecting him to do that again. I really want you to guess, what year did he hit 49 home runs? Yes, it was 2019. He hit 49 home runs in the juice ball year, so I wouldn't expect that to be an attainable ceiling for Suarez this season. I think 30 to 35 home runs is definitely on the table, but if you can sell high and get somebody in return who is sort of, at the value of what you think Suarez is as like a 40 plus home run hitter, or maybe you can just get a little bit more, sell high on Suarez, then you can get some really good return here while he's still hitting really strong and his value is a lot higher. Next, we'll discuss outfielder Kyle Stowers, who helped the Marlins to win versus the Mets, going 1 for 4 with a run, a home run, and 2 runs batted in. It was his first home run of the season. He's got a 950 OPS as well. The home run traveled 421 feet at 105 miles per hour. And Kyle Stowers is pretty interesting. He's batting 2nd versus right-handed pitchers, but the Marlins lineup sort of sucks. So I think Stowers is mostly worth the shot in deeper leagues, definitely NL only leagues, but maybe deep 15-team leagues as well with 5 outfielders. But I think he could move into being relevant in shallow leagues as well if he can cut down on the Ks. Stowers was somewhat of a top prospect for the Orioles a few years ago, and then now has found a home here in Miami. But lots of power here. If he can cut down on the Ks, keep that batting average up, he could really have be a legitimate producer in shallower leagues. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances from Tuesday, check out the Daily Batters Box article over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out the notable starting pitching performances, opening with Nathan Eovaldi, who helped the Rangers to a win in Cincinnati, tossing 9 shutout innings, allowing just 4 hits and no walks while striking out 8. That's a complete game shutout there for Nathan Eovaldi. He induced 18 whiffs with 33% CSW across 99 pitches for the first shutout of 2025. Pretty dope there from Nathan Eovaldi. He cooked despite diminished velocity in this one. He had an unreal feel for the splitter, inducing 10 whiffs with the pitch and 31% CSW, while the curve was there to steal strikes as well as induce 4 whiffs for 52% CSW. The 4-seamer and cutter were there just to get strikes. They're along for the ride, but incredible performance here from Nathan Eovaldi. I think the biggest factor is not really what his pitches are looking like, but really the health. He's got a really deep repertoire. All the pitches are pretty solid. Any one of them can step up on a given day and help him to a performance like this. But if he can stay healthy for the whole season, that's going to be the biggest factor in him remaining a factor on your fantasy baseball teams. Eovaldi gets the Cubs in Chicago next, and I think we're fine starting him there after the complete game shutout on Tuesday. Next, we've got Shane Baz, who helped the Rays to a win versus the Pirates, tossing 6 shutout innings, allowing just 7 hits. He walked nobody while striking out 10, inducing 13 whiffs with 35% CSW across 96 pitches. The Pirates have really struggled against righties early on, but Baz took advantage of that. His curve was an absolute weapon in this one, and it was his most thrown offering, which is definitely interesting as he's been a guy who's been the fastball first guy throughout his career. The curve, though, 8 whiffs and 53% CSW in this one, while the heater was up a tick at 97 miles per hour. But it was really just a one-pitch show in this one. That curve was absolutely incredible. And this is really the ceiling we can expect from Baz with 10 Ks and 6 shutout here, though I think this is he's pitching a little bit over his shoes. That's definitely not the saying, but we're going to go with it. You know what I mean. 13 whiffs seems like a little low for double-digit Ks here, and he definitely got away with no earned runs on 7 hits. But, no walks in 10 Ks is pretty dope, and Baz gets the Angels next, so I'm totally fine starting him there. Hopefully he can continue these types of performances throughout the season. And lastly, we have Casey Mize, who helped the Tigers to win in Seattle, tossing 5 2/3 scoreless innings, allowing just 1 hit and 3 walks while striking out 6. He induced 15 whiffs with 34% CSW across 82 pitches. Mize was Nick's streaming pick of the day, and this one definitely worked. The 4-seamer and the slider combined for 9 whiffs and 32% CSW. Very awesome there. That allowed him to take down all the righties in the Mariners lineup, but the splitter was the big factor here, as it was actually a factor, inducing 5 whiffs and 33% CSW. And I think this could work. I think this was like the only thing we've been waiting on Mize throughout his college career, or at least during the draft season when he was drafted #1 overall. All the talk was about how incredible his splitter was, and that was like the game-changing pitch for him. But we never really saw it be a pitch that did much in the major leagues. But here, 5 whiffs and 33% CSW. I know we're talking about in T-Mobile ballpark, but nonetheless, it was something that he could rely upon. And I think making him a 3-pitch pitcher here with the 4-seamer, slider, and splitter is enough, as well with the sinker to get some ground balls and some called strikes. So I think Mize is somebody that should be picked up pretty much everywhere, though he does get the Yankees next. That's a little scary. It's not in the Bronx, it's in Detroit, but still not the ideal start for somebody you're hoping to take another next step. So for me, as the conservative fantasy manager, I'm going to wait and see how he does in that one. That probably means I'm going to miss out on him, but definitely going to be one to watch there for Casey Mize. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Tuesday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves. Starting with the former, Ryan Walker recorded his 2nd save. He was perfect. Anthony Bender recorded his 1st save. He got the final 2 outs after Anthony Veneziano put 2 on in the 9th. Calvin Fauché had thrown 47 pitches over the weekend, so I think they were trying to take it easy on him early in the season, but I would definitely keep an eye on this situation, especially with Jesus Tinoco on the IL. I think Fauché doesn't really have a firm grasp on this role, and Bender could take it over pretty soon and never give it up. So definitely keep an eye on the closing situation in Miami. Ryan Presley recorded his 2nd save with a scoreless 9th. AJ Puck recorded his 1st save. he allowed a run, and Justin Martinez pitched the eighth. So, I mean, as the guy who's been pushing puck all offseason, great to see him pitch the ninth, not great to see him allow a run. Still, I don't think we have a clear answer on who the closer is. I know Puck pitched the ninth and Martinez pitched the eighth, but it was 3-4-5 in the eighth. And then in the ninth, there were 3 lefties due up. So, I mean, beautiful managing there from Torey Lavulo, but clearly not like somebody's favored over the other. Martinez faced the middle of the lineup and Puck was used for a bunch of lefties. So if anything, Martinez has the leg up, especially after Puck gave up a run. Jeff Hoffman recorded his second save with a perfect ninth. Ryan Zefferjon recorded his first save. I was just a day early on that one. He got the final 2 outs in the 11th. Kenley Jansen pitched a perfect ninth in a tie game, so I don't think he's lost his control of the closer role there. Tommy Canley recorded his first save with a perfect ninth. Will Vest pitched the eighth in this one. It was 2-3-4 in the ninth, so I think we might be able to say that Tommy Canley's the closer. I know it's just one save, but this is the only inkling we have with Jason Foley in the minor leagues and Bo Brieski struggling. So right now, if you're going to ask me who's the closer in Detroit, it's Canley, but definitely going to need to see how things play out throughout the week. And lastly, Tanner Scott recorded his second save with a perfect ninth. Nice bounce back here after he allowed a couple runs to start his season. Blake Trinan pitched the eighth, so still not really a firm closer role here for Tanner Scott, but 2 saves early on and a scoreless outing here. In terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Trevor McGill pitched a perfect ninth up by 5. An insurance run in the 8th bumped the lead up from 4 to 5, but still McGill was set to pitch outside of the safe situation. I think they're just trying to get him work. It's been a rough early going for the Brewers. And lastly, Ryan Helsley pitched a perfect ninth in a tie game. He's been really good early on, but not a lot of save opportunities. And that'll do it for our relievers. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Wednesday, April 2nd, a day in which we'll have a full slate of 15 games. My matchup of the day is Tarek Skubal versus Luis Castillo. This one is in Seattle, so it's definitely due to be a pitcher's duel, especially with the reigning AL Cy Young Award winner. And Luis Castillo is always really good at home, especially if it's not cold. So this could be a really good pitching matchup to watch. In terms of probable starters, we got 16 guys in our auto starts tier, meaning it is ace day around Major League Baseball, including Skubal and Castillo. We also have Zach Wheeler versus the Rockies, Paul Skeens in Tampa Bay. I guess I'm going to have to figure that one out, against the Rays at home, and Garrett Crochet in Baltimore. Our probably starts tier has 8 guys, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Landon Rupp in Houston. He pitches for the Giants, has some pretty legit stuff, earned the 5th starter role out of spring training, and hopefully can figure something out in Houston here. Let's see how he does in his season debut. I'd also keep an eye out for Jameson Taillon against the A's in Sacramento. That lineup doesn't really scare me. I know it's definitely improved over the last few years, but Taillon could definitely be worth your while and get a quality start or something like that. It's not a great day for streaming because it's all aces out there, so you're going to have to try a Toby for something like that. The other option, I think, was like Ben Lively in San Diego. I sort of like that one. The ballpark's better, but the lineup he's facing is rougher, and the Padres haven't lost it this year, so the chance for a win is probably, honestly, statistically, it's probably higher because the Padres are less likely to win 8 in a row, but we'll see. I'm not a statistics major. I tried to be, and then I started failing calculus, so I had to go into literature and ultimately podcasting about fantasy baseball. But that'll do it for our probable starters. In terms of hitter suggestions, this is a surprising one. I'm going to go Braves hitters versus Blake Snell. I know it is a tough one. We're facing 2-time Cy Young Award winner Blake Snell, and the Braves have not won a game yet. However, I know this is a crazy hot take, but the Braves are bound to break out this season. They've got a ton of great hitters in that lineup. I think they got some guys who are really great against lefties as well, and they've been really patient this year. They're bottom 5 in swing rate, and I think that could work against Blake Snell, who is known to live outside of the zone for a lot of walks. So if the Braves can remain patient and have their lefty mashers belt a couple balls over the wall, I think that could be a place you can target and find some fantasy value. Guys who could get who could get a start and maybe available in your leagues right now are Brian De La Cruz, Stuart Fairchild, and Orlando Arcia. Now we'll close things out with our relievers to watch. Devin Williams is on the paternity list for the Yankees. They just signed Adam Ottavino to a 1-year contract to replace him on the roster, but I think Luke Weaver will be in line for saves for the next few days. Jeff Hoffman has pitched in 3 of the last 4, so Jimmy Garcia should be in line for another save today, though I wouldn't be surprised if they pushed Hoffman. Kenley Jansen has also pitched in 3 of the last 4, but so has Ben Joyce. And Ryan Zefferjohn and Ryan Johnson have both been overworked the past few days as well. So it looks like Brock Burke should be in line for a save unless they really want to push one of Jansen or Joyce early in the season. Ryan Helsley has pitched back-to-back, so Phil Maton could be in line for a save, though I wouldn't be surprised if they pushed pushed Helsley 3 days in a row. Tanner Scott has pitched back-to-back, so Blake Trinan or Kirby Yates could be in line for a save today. And lastly, Ryan Walker pitched back-to-back, so Camilo Doval should be in line for a save. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast, and make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.